back to another video. I'm so glad that you're here. Today I am going to be sharing a little bit of all the fun art media that I consumed this week because I feel like these last couple weeks I did a lot. And a lot of it has been super inspiring. Some of it I've been using for my paintings, but also for my writing, which is something I want to talk about a little bit too. But yeah, I just wanted to share all the fun stuff that I've been watching and reading and listening to this week. And I want to start by saying that something that I feel like lately I've been really into is journaling, but not only privately, like my own little private journal, I mean also writing and sharing it online. I think that my main favorite way to create art and to express what I feel, what I'm going through, is obviously through my paintings. But I think that there's a lot that I want to say and a lot I want to share that is not necessarily something I particularly want to paint, or is something that obviously through painting it takes a while to complete one, and I kind of just want to do something short, something little, and I just want to talk about things. So that's what I want to be doing more often. And I think I'm going to be using my Patreon as a main way to communicate all that, just because I think it's an easy way to have everything all together. And I will have obviously all of my extra things for my Patreons for the rewards, all the extra videos, all the extra content, but I will also have my blog as a free, easy to access thing there where you can just go in and read and keep up if you want to. So, first of all, I want to talk about something that I have been dreaming about since the day that I watched it, and it was the ballet Coppelia. I've mentioned before that I really love going to the ballet, and it's something that I've gone not too many times. It's a fairly new thing that I've been doing with my friends, but I have gone to, I think, four now in the last 2 years, and I have grown to be so obsessed with it. Like, it's something that every time just fills me with inspiration and it just becomes a part of me. And now I've watched this new one that it's something that I've been always wanting to watch since I was little, just because it's so random, but I had a Hello Kitty coloring book that it was themed Coppelia. So ever since I was little, I always knew there was a ballet called Coppelia, but I didn't know what it was about, and I finally went and watched it, and I loved it. I can 100% say this is my favorite one I've watched so far. So to summarize it very briefly, it is about a toy maker that makes a doll called Coppelia, which a lot of people in town think at first it's a real girl, and they see her on the balcony. So some of the guys fall in love, some of the girls, they're just curious to see who she is. And then we have our main couple. There's a guy and a girl that are interacting with Coppelia. The guy falls in love with her because he sees her on the balcony and he's trying to go meet her. Meanwhile, the girl notices that her boyfriend is in love with Coppelia, so she kind of follows him around, and they both break into the toy maker's house, and then they see the doll and everything that's inside. So it's such a fun story. It's 100% like a comedy, and it was a very nice surprise because I went in not knowing what it was about other than Coppelia was a doll. But it was really fun. I actually laughed watching it. It was so nice. It was so beautiful. And I left out there so inspired with the concept of dolls in general. So I've been really wanting to make more art that includes doll houses and dolls coming to life and toy makers, all of that. I love it so much. So I think I'm gonna start making more of that, but that's something that I was so obsessed with. But my problem is that I do this so much where I become obsessed with a topic or with a concept for a story because I either watched something or read something, and I love to work on drafts and sketches for my paintings so that I can work on later. But the thing is that I have so many already. Like, I have a sketchbook full of ideas and I want to turn them all into paintings, but obviously that takes time. So by the time that I finish one painting, I've already come up with like 20 more sketches, and I've been obsessed with 3 new topics, which leads me to make this queue of all the paintings that I want to make. But I can't yet because I have other ones in line, and it's such a non problem, but in my head it's the biggest issue that I'm facing right now. So I am trying to make it work, where I keep the inspiration going with this obsession I have now after watching Copelia, and I'm sketching and I'm drawing ideas, but I'm currently working on paintings that I designed a while back. So it's gonna take a little bit before I get to make those, and hopefully by then I don't drive myself crazy. The next thing I want to talk about is the movie that I watched this week that has left me so obsessed. And actually, I watched two. But one is a rewatch. I rewatched Anna Karenina today, not today, this week, with some friends. And every time I watch the movie, I think I love it even more. It's 100% one of my favorite movies of all time. And I think it's going to stay there forever. But aside from Anna Karenina, because I've talked about that one before, I watched the Mona Lisa Smile, and that movie touched my heart. I watched this movie, and the first impression that I got is that this is like a feminine version of a Dead Poet Society, because obviously Dead Poet Society is about an all boys school with a male teacher, and this one is an all girls school with a female teacher. But it's a very similar concept of a school full of very privileged students, but they are limited by the ideals of the area that they live, of the people that they're around, and their future has been already written for them. And then this teacher with a more open mind comes to try to teach them how to think for themselves, which of course angers everybody else because it disturbs the order that they already had. And that is pretty much like the essence of what the movie is about, but more specifically, this one is about the girls in a more conservative side of the country where they're raised to just be wives and mothers. And this one I think is set on the 50s. So these girls, they're very smart, and specifically this class is the art class, so it's their art teacher that's teaching them to think a little bit outside the box, because she comes from a more liberal, open mindset. I really like how realistic the characters are, because even though obviously the teacher is trying to help them think for themselves and have the future they choose for themselves, I really enjoy how the characters take this new idea. I think it would be a little unrealistic to expect everybody to just change their mind and completely throw away everything that they've been raised to be or want to be and just all of a sudden change. Um, so I think the pacing and the way that the characters take on that is so realistic and so good. I definitely loved the teacher because she was not perfect. There was moments in the movies where she makes decisions that I'm like, why? But that's good, because that's how you see that it's not about the teacher being always right and everybody else being wrong, because that's not the point. It's just about two different people that have different struggles, and they're sort of captured in their own prisons, and how they both break free in their own way. It's really interesting, and I don't want to spoil it because I think it's such an amazing movie, so you definitely have to watch it for yourself. But it's one of those movies that left me just thinking about it for a long time, so I 100% recommend it. And next I want to talk about the book that I read this week, and it's actually not that I read it this week, I finished it this week. And that is A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. I have been reading this book for a little bit now because I took a long break and I finally sat down and finished it. And after I sat down, I couldn't put it down. So I took a break after I reached like the 50-page mark, just because I was just very distracted at the time. But then once I went back to it, it was so good, I could not put it down. And I just finished the rest of the book. I think like the remaining like 250 pages in just a couple days, because it was so amazing. And it's a story about a fantasy country where there is a division. One side of the country believes in fantasy and they believe it to be real, almost to a religious point, and then the other side believes it to be just fiction. And it does also drive a wedge between the two sides of people, because one side thinks the other side is uneducated, or they believe that their religious beliefs are disrespected. It's just a lot of conflict between both sides. And the main character, Effie, she's from the side of the country that does believe in fantasy, and then her partner in this adventure is a boy from another side where they don't believe in it. They're both trying to investigate this author who just recently passed away, and he was known to be the most famous fantasy writer at the time. So some people consider his writing to be like a form of history, I guess, where everything that he wrote did happen and is part of the folklore of that side, while the others consider it to be fantasy but a very, very, very good writer. So both sides respect him, but they're both trying to figure out what the truth is with both perspectives together. And oh my god, what an amazing read. And I love the symbolism in the story with the plot of the book the writer wrote in the story and the connection with the main character Effie and the struggle she went through by being the only girl in an all boys school because she was the first girl they allowed, and the abuse that she went through. And it's just such a good story. It's amazing. The fantasy is beautiful, it's beautifully written, and the symbolism, it's just amazing. And the characters, I love the characters so much. So I obsessed, loved it. And I think especially because that's one of my favorite things to create about when I work on my paintings. I love to have that fantasy element, that symbolism in it, and it almost becomes a reality in a sense because I use it as a way to describe my real life or real things that happen, real emotions. So even though I use fantasy and symbolism and things like that as a way to express it, but the meaning behind it are real, which is sort of like what's happening in the story. So either way, regardless if the fantasy factor is true or not, the meaning behind it, what it represents, how it affects people, all of that was real. And it doesn't matter what side of it you stand in, you can all agree that the importance of the stories are real and they do affect people. So I really appreciated that, and I think that it's very inspiring for my art as well because that's kind of what I want to express. And then lastly, I just want to share a little quote that has me really inspired and that I will be making some paintings based on it. Quote is by Alexander Dumas from The Count of Monte Cristo, and it is, "Out of love for you, I have forgiven the world." This quote really, I don't know, it really impacted me, and I read this book a long time ago, but I honestly forgot about that quote, and I just saw it recently, I think on Pinterest. I was like, you know what? I really like that. And that quote inspired multiple pages of journaling, which turned into multiple pages of sketching, which turned into ideas for a little series of paintings, all inspired on that I will be sharing soon because I think I'm gonna start working on that next. That's my next painting that I'm working on. So that's next. So I will share that a little more later. But that quote really inspired me a lot because it's like that power of love that is not only about changing for one person, but it's more about realizing what really matters once those feelings hit, and the contrast between how much love you can feel, regardless if it's for a person, for yourself, for an idea, versus the hate and resentment you can feel, again, for a person, for a thing, or an idea. And I think that's what I really want to express with that feeling that, love does overcome. And yeah, I'll be making a series of painting inspired of that, but I wanted to share that real quick, and all of these amazing stories that I have been engaging with this last week because I love sharing my source of inspirations. I hope that you enjoy. I hope that you, if you want, give them a chance and let me know what you think about them. So I will see you next time. Bye!